the inside story on the issues that affect you and your community. This is Local 12 Newsmakers.
Good morning and welcome to Local 12 Newsmakers. In terms of local priorities, safety consistently registers at the top of most polls. That might be especially true given the recent wave of violence in the city of Cincinnati. For many, the recommended response is to build more jail space and lock up more people. But does anything happen in the Justice Center that can change the path of a person who finds themselves in jail? If it doesn't, the entrance to the Justice Center becomes just one big revolving door. One program operating in the Hamilton County Justice Center with the support of Sheriff Simon Lease is called the PACER program. PACER stands for Progress, Achievement, Choice, Empowerment, and Reentry. I am joined this morning by three people connected with the PACER program. Dr. Stephen Hawley is the founder of the PACE School that operates in a wing of the former St. Agnes Church in Bond Hill. PACE has developed a dropout recovery and prevention program for at-risk young people. Dr. Hawley has extended his approach to create the PACER program for people in the Hamilton County Justice Center. Antwaan Staley is a community advocate with the PACER program, and David Fulcher plans and facilitates workshops offered to inmates enrolled in the PACER program. And yes, this is the same David Fulcher who was an all-pro safety for the Cincinnati Bengals in the late 1980s and 1990s. Welcome everybody to
Good morning.
What is, Doc, what is the sort of basic philosophy of PACER? What are you bringing to the Justice Center that maybe is different than what was already there?
Well, the whole idea is that the sheriff is very committed to education. One of the things that he has is a very fine GED program there, and to go along with that, the staff that he has is first rate. And what goes with that is the whole issue of safety. With the recidivism rate of 70% in this county, and unfortunately with less jail space, the desire for us to create, or for someone to create an opportunity for people and to really look at the individuals who are in there and give them a chance. It comes down to life skills. Do they have the necessary skills to survive in contemporary society?
So there's the GED program, which is operated autonomously.
Correct.
Although very close to where you guys are operating.
Yes.
But this is more focused on what you're calling life skills, which, give me an example of basic life skills.
Housing, health and medical. Basically David will add more to what the actual program is, but a lot of things about, you need to get your head right. If you're going to come back and survive in society, society's not going to be very user-friendly. Given your crimes, given your past record and everything else, you know, we have a tendency to not want to change people, basically to keep them right where they are. The program seeks to, starting from the age of 18 up, to basically look at them and let them focus on themselves, and the whole issue of empowerment. If they're empowered, they can do it themselves.
Antwaan, two things. One, how did you come to be connected to this program, working for this program? And secondly, what is it that you do with the program?
Well, first, I've been incarcerated for I don't know how long. It was too long. But I was convicted of 2 aggravated robberies. Okay. And while I was going through my case, I met Steve, or we call him Doc, and Dave here, and we bonded like real close, and so many opportunities came from that. What I do as far as PACER goes, I like to say I'm an example. I show people that, you know, other than your cases or whatever you're going through legally, you can come out of that. You know what I mean, it's all about changing your mentality. You actually got to want to do something different, and once that's pretty much the foundation. So once you got that set, that's what.
So you're not only an employee of the program, you're a person who has benefited from the program. Exactly. You're somebody who's come through it. Mm-hmm. David, let me ask sort of the same question. You're coming from a very different. How did you get connected to this? What drew you to this program?
Well, you know, I would say, one, it was great playing football, but I think football led me to the opportunity to work with young individuals, whether it be, you know, boys or girls. And I met Doc probably 2.5 years ago, sitting at a round table talking about how we could benefit helping kids. What kind of skills could I bring to the table and advice could I bring to the table to help young kids? So I started working with Doc at Pace High School.
Right.
And then the PACER program was already intact to the point where I started to go into the Justice Center and just talking everyday common sense stuff with these gentlemen that are in the Justice Center. And as time has gone on, that's what this is all about. It's just everyday stuff that they already know, but they don't apply themselves or put themselves in a position to use it.
So what's the, you say people already know it, but what has to happen? What's the PACER program help people? What's the heart of that change that has to take place?
Well, it's starting over. Today is the first day of the rest of your life, and tomorrow, if you take it the same approach, tomorrow is the first day of the rest of your life. So you're doing something different every day, but the difference that you're making today compared to yesterday was you're not doing the same exact thing. And when we sit down and talk to these gentlemen and ladies about their past, the past is the past. And in order for you to be a better person in this world today, and a lot of it has to do with, I always tell them to put their kids in front of them. If you ask your kid what that kid needs, whether it's a newborn or it's a 17-year-old, you ask them what they want, I'm pretty sure they're going to tell you they would love to have mom or dad put them to bed, wake up in the morning with them, take them places, but they can't do that if you're locked up. So you should start working for your kid and living for your kid instead of living for yourself.
Doc, very practically, how do you select, what percentage of people in the Justice Center at any one time can be involved in the program, and how do you select people? I mean, one of the challenges is Justice Center, people are there for all kinds of varying lengths of time. I mean, and indeterminate lengths of time because people are waiting for their cases to come up, and so you don't really know. It's hard to plan. How do you select people, and what do you actually do?
Basically, the selection process. One of the nice things, when Sheriff Lease allowed me to come into the Justice Center almost 3 years ago, I had 4 students from my high school, had 3 credits left to graduate. He allowed me to come in.
Your high school being the Pace High School in Bond Hill.
Before PACER began.
Okay.
That was the beginning of our collaboration. What occurred with that was we were allowed to teach and work with them. All 4 of them graduated, all 4 of them went to college. Out of that, he became very interested in what we were doing. And we talked a lot about, it's a totally collaborative effort. So, in order to select people for the program, we go to the judges. We work with all the judges in the county. The purpose of working with the judges is to, they want to give people opportunities too, if those opportunities are possible. If their environment, the environment of the defendant, allows them to have an opportunity to change. Out of that, they volunteer. They will directly sentence them to the program.
Okay, so the judges are involved.
Yes.
In directing people to this program.
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, usually in the Justice Center, it's a lot about word of mouth, and Antwaan can deal with that better because he does all the interviewing and selection.
So you're inside talking to people, sort of, in effect, selling the program, or at least, and also identifying people who might be ready to benefit from this?
Well, I gotta say the program sell itself, because a lot of inmates we get is recommended by other inmates. So once that happens, we have a form that they fill out. It's kind of like an application.
Right.
But I do the initial interviews, and the one thing I try not to do is turn down anybody, because I feel like everybody deserves a chance. Now, if they want it or not is on them. But that's pretty much how I approach the interview. It's kind of tricky because you have guys who come down and they come down initially just to get off their floor, off their pod or whatnot. But when they get down there, they see what type of program it is, and it draws them in. And next thing you know, they're telling somebody else about it.
So at any one time, David, how many people who are in the Justice Center can be actively in the program?
Well, inside the Justice Center, we've actually grown. When we first started, we had 12 guys.
Okay. And
now we're up to about 30, 35. And like Antwaan said, this is a want-to program. This is a want-to-change program. And change starts with looking yourself in the mirror and saying, I'm going to stop doing what I used to do to better myself. So when those guys are in our program on the inside, which is at obviously in the Justice Center, but also on the outside, we have an office at 224 West Liberty that when the gentlemen are finished with their incarceration, they now come to our program and we still do exactly the same thing. It's about a camaraderie, it's about a support group, and it's about letting me know, as well as Antwaan know, what you're doing on an everyday basis. I want to make sure that these gentlemen are keeping their eyes on the prize.
Antwaan, how many of the people who, once they're out, really show up at that office on Liberty Street?
You know what? It's I say 50-50. We have guys that, you know, was locked up when I was, that's down there every day. You know, man, that's just, it's one thing is about just they want to be a part of something, but they're searching at the same time. Okay. So I mean, it's 50-50, and I think we had over like about 400 guys. So that's a lot of people.
So of the people who successfully go through the program and stick with some of the post outside the Justice Center, you know, make that effort. What sort of recidivism rate? Do you really cut the number of people going back?
We're at about 18% now.
18%?
18 from 70.
End up back in the
Yes,
Justice Center.
the other 82%. In the statistic I first gave you was 70% reoffend. We're under 20%.
Wow. So that's a big difference.
Huge. But you know, our whole program is you have to want to do it. If you want to become empowered, you're going to change. But you need to have a team of people in place who can talk the walk or walk the talk, can begin to talk, so you can begin to do the same thing. One of the most valuable things that we have now is that they get 3 different perspectives. You know, they get 3 different people who are coming at them constantly. In the Justice Center, one of the things that I do is we work with them on their cases when they ask questions.
The legal cases.
Yes. I mean, none of us are lawyers. That's
right.
not the point. But the point is to make them aware of, you know, what's going to happen to me? What do I need? You know, and getting them to realize that, you know, it's important that they understand what the system is and the team. I mean, one of the presentations is actually called the Justice Game. And the whole thing is here are all the teams, because you chose to do what you do and there are charges, there's a whole team of people who are working against you. And you need to understand how all the players play, just like when you're on the streets, you understand how all your homies play. And the whole thing is an awareness thing. It's changing their way of thinking little by little.
Okay.
You know, it's a choice thing. I'm sorry. It's a choice thing. You know, I try to tell them, I'm a product from South Central Los Angeles. And I've been around the gangs and the violence and the drugs and saw all those type of things. But it was a choice for me to get out of Los Angeles. I had a chance to either be, I could have been a gang member or a drug dealer, or I could have been a kid getting out and wanting to be successful. And I took the choice of getting my education and going to college.
When you were 17, 18
Yes.
years old, did you think of it that way?
Yes, I did. I'll tell you what I did, because my parents and a lot of guys that we deal with, you know, the parents aren't there. You know, single moms, fathers have never been around, and they look at us as big brothers or fathers. And a bunch of them that I talk to are 20 years younger than I am. So yes, I could talk to you as if you were my son. But the road that I took was to get out of Los Angeles, to make something out of myself. And when I sit and talk to them and they go, yeah, I kind of remember you playing football. Yeah, I play a little football, but that's not why I'm here today. What I'm talking about today is the common knowledge, the common sense stuff. If I build a fire and put it on the floor and you put your hand in, you're going to get burned. So why do you do it? Don't do something that you know is not going to be beneficial for you and your family.
Antwaan, what if, as you're talking to people and trying to figure out who might be in the program, that decision to change that we keep coming back to, what if you see somebody in the Justice Center who had been in the program before, got out of the Justice Center, is now back in the Justice Center and comes to you and say, I'd like to do it again, now I'm ready. What's your response?
Well, we have that a lot.
You have that a lot?
We have that a lot. But I think the first thing we do is evaluate what they was doing when they was out. Now, if we have a guy that was in the program, he got out and he did nothing, now we really want to sit down and we contemplate, do we even want to deal with that? Because all that's saying is I need y'all help to get me back out. or whatnot. But we have that a lot. We have guys who go out there and they try, and I think one of the biggest downfalls is there's not a lot of opportunities when you have felonies.
Job opportunities.
Job opportunities.
And actually, we've done a couple of shows about that recently.
Right. So that's mostly the reason why a lot of guys go back. Because I mean, just for dealing with over 400 people, I talk to a lot of them that really don't want to go back to prison, right. But they come out and they try to do whatever it is they need to do to survive legally, and there's no opportunity. So the first thing they do is go back to what they know. Yeah.
Doc, we're just about out of time, but how's a program like this funded? It
has been through private donations and everything. That's why we're very limited. I mean, we now have so many involved that it would be nice to have more money in order to put more people out there. And quite honestly, the best message comes from people like Antwaan. I mean, I'm not going to lie, because they get the opportunity to see somebody who's made it. So that's kind of how it goes.
Okay, so private donations, and if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, wasn't quite sure. Is there a website? Is there Is there a telephone number?
Yes. You can basically call. I don't know which one you want to.
Yeah, you can call me.
Okay.
You can call me at 225-3318.
Okay.
Or 751-7223 extension 132.
Okay. One final question, David.
Yes.
A lot of the guys you might be dealing with are a lot younger.
Yes.
Do they even remember that you played football?
Some do. Some do.
I just
introduced
see
myself
you
that
if you
way.
were getting old.
Yeah, well, you know what? A gentleman told me years ago, and I don't like to mention the team because I can't stand the Pittsburgh Steelers, but
I see.
Jack Lindbergh told me years ago that when they quit asking you for your autograph or it's coming up to you saying hi to you, that's when you know it's over. And today they haven't stopped yet, so I'm still good to go.
Well, now you're doing something that is just as important.
Thank you.
Thank all three of you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here this morning. Stay tuned after the break. An upcoming community conference on preventing violence against women. Welcome back. The statistics are sobering and overwhelming. Nearly 3 out of every 4 family violence victims in 2005 were females, according to the U.S. Bureau of Justice. More than half of all rapes of females occur before the woman is 18 years old, and 22% before they are 12 years old. 28% of all female American veterans reported sexual assaults during their time of service. Family violence accounted for between 11 and 33% of all violent crimes between 1998 and 2002, according to the United States Bureau of Justice. To throw light on the issue of violence against women, a group of local women have organized an all-day conference on Saturday, April the 24th at Seton High School in Price Hill. I am joined now by 2 of the organizers of the Stop Violence Against Women Conference. Sister Patricia Cruz is a Sister of Charity of Cincinnati. Sister Patricia is currently the president of Seton High School in Price Hill, the site of the conference on the 24th. Before assuming her current position, she was director of Covenant House, which is headquartered in New York City and is the largest privately funded adolescent care agency in the United States, providing shelter and services to homeless runaway youth. And Aimee Shinkle, the development and marketing director for Women's Connection, a neighborhood center in Price Hill committed to strengthening families. Welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is a really interesting conference, and I mean the topic, the statistics kind of set it up, but this could be held anytime, but you're choosing to hold it in Cincinnati and you're choosing to hold it now. Your keynote speaker, Aimee, who's your keynoter and why, and what's she going to focus on?
We're bringing in Charlotte Bunch. Charlotte is the founder and executive director of the Women's Global Leadership Center at Rutgers University. She also was the recipient of the Human Service Eleanor Roosevelt Human Service Award in 1999. She is known internationally for her focus on preventing violence and addressing violence in women's lives.
Yeah, in fact, I noticed that a couple of the sessions, and there are a lot of sessions, it's an all-day conference on Saturday at Seton High School.
That's right.
A lot of the sessions are very practically oriented. I noticed there was one focusing on a project in Gloucester, Massachusetts about setting up So, you know, there's a lot of practical information here. You're going to be one of the speakers, Sister Patricia.
Yes.
And you're focusing on the question of human trafficking. What is that, and why are you focusing on that?
Human trafficking is the modern day slavery in the world that we live in, not just the United States, not just in third world countries.
Not just in the United States, but it is in the United States?
Is in the United States more than one would ever expect. And the focus of this conference is obviously on women. And human trafficking and the sexual exploitation and prostitution of young women is growing at a tremendous rate. And we need to acknowledge it and figure out ways to get young girls out of that situation.
Is there any sense of capturing a sense of the size, how important this is, as you know, how much money's involved in this sort of area, or is this something sort of just squirreled off on the edges?
Well, latest statistics say that $44 billion annually is put into human trafficking across the world, which is second only to drug trafficking.
Wow. So we're talking about something that, even though probably most people don't think of as a major problem, doesn't hit the headlines like drug trafficking.
Right.
Is this something that you were encountering as you were running Covenant House, that you came to realize was
every single day?
Every
single Covenant House in the United States and in Latin America. We can't get away from it. As a matter of fact, most young girls that came into the Covenant Houses, wherever they are, said that they had been abused or were in a situation that they couldn't get themselves out of. Perfect example, guy on the street, a young lady living on the street. Do you want a place to stay? Come have sex with me. Do you want some food? Come have sex with me. Do you want me to take care of you? Go have sex with him. And they do. And it becomes no longer a choice. And when one is in a position that they don't have a choice, then they're in bondage and not free.
And in terms of that's one aspect of this, but the conference and speakers in the conference are going to be dealing with questions of literally physical violence as well, all the way from the family to the international perspective, right, Aimee?
Absolutely. We're going to be talking about domestic violence, rape crisis. We're also going to be touching on cyberbullying, and working with professionals on how to best address this issue in their work, social service professionals and counselors.
You know, one of the speakers, too, is Sister Carol Jean Willie, who is also a Sister of Charity of Cincinnati, who was a member of a panel that I chaired on Tuesday night at Mount St. Joe, and she's at the United Nations and can speak not only from an international perspective, but also from a hopeful perspective about how women in various places in the world are getting themselves out of these situations and creating a sense of independence and control over their lives. So there's a hopeful parts about this as well. Who do you hope will come to this conference?
The people who come to this conference are not only people who have been directly impacted by violence in their lives, but also professionals who work in the field of violence prevention, social workers, counselors, students also. We are doing a big push towards college students. We have a student rate so that students can come and get further education.
Let me add to that in addition to social workers, and many people in the world we live in would say, well, that's their job to take care of this. Our schools, our churches, our hospitals, our neighborhoods, our families need to be able to identify and know what it means for women to be in a situation where there's violence in their lives.
So it's really texturing people all the way through society and raising people's awareness so they recognize what's going on. It's not just, oh, this is the police's problem or this is the social workers'
Exactly.
problem.
That's right. Very true.
And we're just about out of time, but what about high school students? Are you encouraging the young women at Seton High School to think about going to this?
Of course.
Of course.
And many will be there, and many of our young women do volunteer their services, etc., in the local nonprofit organizations that serve women.
The Stop the Violence Against Women Conference will be held on Saturday, April the 24th at Seton High School. If you want to see the full program online, go to srcharitycinti.org. To make reservations, call 513-451-9444, $65 regular registration, $20 for students. Thank you for being here, and thank you for making Newsmakers a part of your Sunday morning. Next week, we start coverage of some of the most important local races for the May 4th Ohio primary ballot. Have a good week.